only 4 teams remain left in the NFL playoffs with conference championship weekend coming up this weekend. Let's hop into another mock draft. We haven't done one in, I think it's 2 weeks now, and when the playoffs actually started and the regular season ended. But now we're going to hop right into it. We've got the first 28 picks locked in, so why not? There's been a couple other updates. There's been a couple other risers, draft stock fallers, and that's going to keep this a little bit fresh, and we might go with some different things than we did last mock draft. So we're just going to hop into it as soon as we can with pick number 1. But actually, before we start, a lot of y'all still aren't subscribed to the channel. I appreciate y'all for subscribing in the recent videos. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers compared to usual. I appreciate it a ton. If you're not subscribed, however, and you keep coming back to my content, maybe this is your first video, and you enjoy it, I'd appreciate if you hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and it's free. And let's get into this video with pick number 1, which is going to stay the same. Cam Ward will be the first overall selection for me still for the Tennessee Titans. They just need that answer at quarterback. There is a possibility maybe they go a different direction, go quarterback later in the draft due to this quarterback class being a pretty weak one. And there's a possibility maybe Abdul Carter goes first overall, Travis Hunter goes first overall. So I do have them still going Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's the best quarterback in this draft class. I did used to think it was Shedeur Sanders. I think Cam Ward, with his upside ability compared to Shedeur Sanders, will be the better one of the two. And obviously, there's been some news about other guys. I think Will Howard, with a really good playoff performance. I know he has a great team with him, but a great playoff performance from Will Howard kind of rised him up a little bit. I think that Jackson Dart, who is still very heavily underrated, we might be having a little spoiler, a little player profile, a draft scouting report on Jackson Dart coming to the channel soon. I think he could be a big sleeper in the draft. McCord looked really good other than that game against Pittsburgh. And then also another draft profile will be coming out on one of the other guys highly picked. Shedeur Sanders will be another draft profile we do. We'll get to him in a little bit. But we'll go with Cam Ward first overall. I like his higher ceiling, lower floor than Shedeur Sanders. And I think the Titans just need to find their situation at quarterback and settle it. With the number 1 pick, you go and do that with Cam Ward. So pick number 2 now. Cleveland, I had them going, I believe, Shedeur Sanders. I think Cleveland probably believes that Shedeur may not want to play for them if he gets drafted by them. And I wouldn't blame him. You don't want to go to Cleveland. Cleveland's an absolute, it's just an absolute waste, ghost town for quarterback talent. So I'm going to go with a different route. We're going to go Abdul Carter here with the 2nd overall pick. Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the 1 and 2 when it comes to best prospects in this draft. Abdul Carter is an absolute freak of nature. He makes plays happen no matter what, no matter when, no matter where. How many people are blocking him? How many people are shading to him? It doesn't matter. Abdul Carter makes his presence known. And with a team that might have a little bit of a question with Myles Garrett's future in Cleveland, another team we might be seeing an edge rusher have a little questionable future is Max Crosby with the Raiders. But yeah, with Abdul Carter's future being unknown, or not Myles Garrett being unknown, Abdul Carter being there at number 2 it's a really good pick for the best, arguably the best player in this draft class, him or Travis Hunter. So Abdul Carter at number 2. Another guy I could be going with is Travis Hunter here at number 2. The need for a corner, and I think they could use the wide receiver depth with a guy like Travis Hunter, who's an unreal athlete. So number 2, we're going to go Abdul Carter this time. Now, number 3, I believe we went Travis Hunter in the last draft. And, I really do want to do that again. I'm really thinking about it. I'm also thinking about doing Will Johnson, but I just think the Giants, if the opportunity is presented to them, they will take Shedeur Sanders. I think that Shedeur should probably, if anything, go to 6 to the Raiders. If he's going to go to any of the teams, I think that he shouldn't be drafted by New York. New York needs a quarterback bad. I think they go out and give money to Sam Darnold and try and maybe pick up Sam Darnold in the offseason despite his bad end to the season, and pick up a guy like Travis Hunter or Will Johnson at pick number 3, maybe even take a lineman at number 3. But I think they take Shedeur in this case. I think that the quarterback situation is just so bad in there. I got to do it. And we're going to go with Shadur Sanders. I mean, you'll hear more about what I think about Shadur coming up in my draft scouting profile for Shadur Sanders. I don't really think he's that highly touted of a prospect that most people probably think he is. Obviously, I still have him going at third. But in a draft where there's so many QB needing teams, that's why I got him going at number 3. I don't personally think – I think he could probably fall out of the second round. I think that a lot of teams have him pretty highly rated, though. So that's why I got Shadur going number 3 to the Giants. Now, at number 4 to the Patriots, we're going to go with his teammate, Travis Hunter, 4th overall. I mean, yeah, their corner room's pretty good in New England. But, I mean, when you got an unreal athlete like Travis Hunter who could play corner, he can play wide receiver, why wouldn't you do it, you know? Why wouldn't you take the number 1 guy in this draft? I mean, you can always improve at positions. Christian Gonzalez has been an absolute stud at corner. You add Travis Hunter there as well. You got 2 absolute studs and very athletic corners on both sides of the field. And then you got him to play wide receiver as well to help out Drake May a little bit. I do think it's possible they go Tetairoa McMillan. I do think it's possible they go and get an offensive lineman because those are 2 very big needs for this team. But for this, I'm going Travis Hunter. I just think he's the best player available here, and he can do a lot of things for you. With Mike Vrabel and now Josh McDaniels as the new offensive coordinator. Just recently signed. Number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to switch it up here. We've been going Will Johnson. We're going to switch to the other Michigan teammate. We're going to go with Mason Graham. The D-line in Jacksonville needs improvement in the interior. Trayvon Walker's been a pretty good pick for them. Very sneaky pick, actually, for them. So I think the interior could use help. I actually thought maybe Byron Murphy last year would go to the Jaguars. Instead, I can't think of who they picked right now, but instead they did not pick Byron Murphy. I can tell you that. I had them going Nate Wiggins or Byron Murphy. They picked neither of those guys. Nate Wiggins, a first-team All-Pro rookie, or not All-Pro, but All-Rookie. But Mason Graham, I think, is just another top prospect, fills in a gap, fills in a need that you need. That's perfect. That's a match made for him, And that's why I got Mason Graham going at number 5 to the Jaguars. Now, at number 6, the Raiders. I've got 2 different options here. We've got Tetairoa McMillan and we got Ashton Jeanty. I still think that is a possibility they go Jeanty because that running back need is possible. Jacoby Myers, maybe they use him to get some draft capital, so they run out of wide receiver room. Tetairoa McMillan's there. I'm going to go with Tetairoa McMillan. I don't think they trade Jacoby Myers in the offseason for some draft capital. I think they keep him off of a pretty good season, move him into that wide receiver 2 slot. Tetairoa McMillan obviously might need some time to become a wide receiver 1. When you're pro comps a guy like Mike Evans, you're getting those for a reason. He's absolutely built very well. Physical frame's fantastic, and he uses his physical frame to gain a competitive edge over his defenders. And that's really why I really like Tetairoa McMillan as a prospect, and I think the Raiders need that true wide receiver to pair up with Brock Bowers. Not saying Jacoby Myers can't do that. I just don't think Jacoby Myers is the guy to do that for the Raiders. I think Tetairoa McMillan is, and that would be dangerous if they can find a way to get a quarterback maybe later in this draft, stick with Aiden O'Connell, or get a guy in the free agency, give him Tetairoa McMillan and Brock Bowers to really be able to, help out the new quarterback in town or the returning quarterback in town for Las Vegas. Number 7 now to the New York Jets. I think they could go tackle. They went tackle last year with Olu Fashanu. I think they could go Will Campbell because, Fashanu is the replacement for Tyron Smith, and Morgan Moses is a upcoming free agent this offseason, so they could be picking another tackle to possibly take over his spot. Will Campbell's a very big possibility here. I'm going to go with Will Johnson, though. When you've got a guy like Will Johnson, who I think could possibly be the best player to come out of this draft, it's almost a need that you need to do. They need DB. DJ Reed is a upcoming free agent this year. Sauce Gardner's production was not what you expected for him to be doing this year, in year 3 for him. I think Will Johnson, you need the corner help, and your corners have been a little bit underwhelming or are leaving. You get a guy in Will Johnson who could be the best player in this draft at pick number 7, a great value. And I think the Carolina Panthers get a little upset that you do that, because I think if he falls to 8, I think the Panthers really have a legitimate question whether or not you take him. But Obviously, he doesn't fall. He goes to 7 to the Jets. Now, number 8 to the Carolina Panthers. We're going to go with edge rusher here. We've got two decisions. We got James Pierce Jr., Mykel Williams. Those are my two guys right now that I think will go to the Panthers. Obviously, Abdul Carter, if he lands at 8, he'll go there. I don't think he'll land at 8. I think if he doesn't go to the Browns, I think that he'll find a way to go to one of these teams right here. So we're going to go pick number 8 to the Panthers. We're going to go Mykel Williams. I think the build and the athletic upside's there, just like Trayvon Walker, as I say. I think he'd be a great pick for the team right after the Panthers. New Orleans, who lacks really an athletic freak on their offensive or their defensive line, but also the Panthers do. I mean, their defensive line is not good. I mean, they traded away their best defensive lineman and edge rusher, Brian Burns, to the Giants. That's a team that I think is okay with the edge rusher pick. I don't think you pick Abdul Carter, because you've got maybe because Kayvon Thibodeau gets hurt, the Giants could possibly do that. But enough about the Giants. We already picked their pick. Mykel Williams is just the athletic upside, the frame, everything that an NFL scout would like out of an edge rusher. I think is something that the Carolina Panthers could really use. And now pick number 9 to the New Orleans Saints. We're going to go with another edge rusher, James Pierce Jr. You know, as a Saints fan, I really, really, really fight against picking Luther Burden here. I think Burden could also be a very big possibility. They do need another wide receiver on the team. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling possibly gets re-signed if they can make up the cap room. And then obviously they got Shaheed and Olave in the wide receiver room there. But we're going to go James Pierce Jr. because of the terrible defensive line they've got there in New Orleans. I'm surprised one of their draft needs aren't offensive line. I'm pretty sure they had one of the worst offensive lines, maybe the 31st ranked offensive line in the league last year. So they could really use improvement on that. I could see, Louisiana man himself, Will Campbell from LSU going to the Saints. I could see Josh Simmons, maybe even Kelvin Banks going to the Saints here at 9. I go James Pierce Jr. because of his upside. He's just another guy, just like most of the edge rushers. His production's there in college more than I would say Mykel. But I just love James Pierce Jr. I think he's going to be great in the in the NFL, and I think it's a great spot for a team that needs something off the edge. This team absolutely does. Your leader in sacks was Brian Bresee, your defensive lineman that you drafted 2 years ago. He did pretty good, but I think my concern with that is he needs to improve on his run game, and he shouldn't be so pass oriented when it comes to rushing, pass rush oriented. He needs to learn how to be able to stuff up the run a little better. You need a guy off the edge who can be doing all the dirty work on the pass game and getting the sacks for you, and that's James Pierce Jr. So that's number 9 for the Saints. Number 10 for the Bears. We're going to go with, now, before I pick, actually, I'm going to say this was actually a little bit of a difficult choice for me. I really think with Ben Johnson being the new offensive coordinator, Ashton Jeanty could be in a possibility here. I know they do have DeAndre Swift, but Ashton Jeanty with Ben Johnson would be really fun to see. However, I do think the number 1 priority is protecting Caleb Williams. We're going to go Will Campbell here at pick number 10 to the Bears. As I said, Caleb Williams needs to be protected. Second most times being sacked by a rookie in a season, or being sacked as a rookie in the season, just behind David Carr, who I believe owns the number 1 and 2 most sacked seasons all time, just in general, which is terrible. But I think Will Campbell at 10 is fitting in a need. He has the possibility of moving into guard. I think he probably will move into guard with the Bears, but this is a good pick for him. I mean, offensive line, you can never do wrong with offensive line. They could also go edge here, I think, but I just think the offensive line is the number 1 priority in Chicago. Maybe they go and do that in the offseason and take someone else at number 10. But for now, we've got Will Campbell going at number 10 to the Bears. Now at number 11 to the Niners. The guy that I really want to put in here, I'm going to go off defensive line. I think that should be their number 1 priority over the offensive line. The offensive line has shown that they do have problems when Williams is out, but they have they have a promising rookie at right guard. But we're gonna go Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. I don't even think I put him on my mock in the first round. I looked into him more. This dude's he's a prototypical defensive end, and that, as I said, that's what these NFL scouts love, is those prototypical defensive ends that have the size, the speed, the size, the athleticism. Maybe they don't have the greatest technique, but they have the ability to have great technique. And I mean, Shamar Stewart is what? I think 290 maybe. He's a big guy, or maybe 288. 290. Yeah, he's 6'6", 290, but he moves like he's 250. He can move around, and he's got great size. So 6'6", 290, and you can move, dude. I mean, I think that's going to get him rising up on these draft boards, and that's why we've got him going number 11 to the 49ers, who need to improve up that defensive line. They've drafted really badly at defensive line, other than Nick Bosa, I'd say, and maybe Javon Kinlaw, but he's not on the team anymore. But we'll go Shamar Stewart, number 11 to the Niners. Now number 12 to the Raiders. Pencil it in again. Ashton Jeanty, running back, is a big need for Dallas. Despite Rico Dowdle having a good season, I think they go Ashton Jeanty at number 12. Now number 13, though, to the Dolphins. I've been going Malachi Starks a lot. We're going to switch it up. Let's go Josh Simmons. I think despite the injury against Oregon for Ohio State, for the Ohio State tackle, he'll still be a top half pick, maybe top 20 pick. And I think the Dolphins could really use an offensive lineman. I say it every year. Teron Armstead's just getting older. Tua, actually, they had one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Tua felt a lot of pressure, or whoever was back there, Tyler Huntley, Skylar Thompson, whoever's back there. They were giving up a lot of pressure, so they could really use improvement on the offensive line, and that's where Josh Simmons comes into play to help protect Tua, who definitely is a priority to keep protected, especially with all those injuries. So pick 14, I think this is a match made in heaven. You didn't trade up to get Brock Bowers last year. You get Tyler Warren this year at 14 when you had pick 15 last year, I believe. So we're going to go Tyler Warren at 14. I mean, he's just been fantastic for Penn State this year. He's just doing everything for him. I believe Penn State record in like every category for tight ends on a season. He's a great fit for Indianapolis, who absolutely needs a tight end. I think Malachi Starks is also a really big pick in play here for Indianapolis. I'm just going to go with Tyler Warren again because I think that is their best player for what they need. So Tyler Warren, 14. 15 now to the Falcons. They need edge rusher. They also need linebackers, so I think they go Jalen Walker, who I'm surprised has dropped a little bit on the PFF big board. I love Jalen Walker. I think he could be really good. I think he could honestly be a top 10 pick. A team like maybe the Panthers or maybe the Saints, maybe one of those teams that needs an edge rusher. Jalen Walker can do that just because he's listed at linebacker and plays off ball every once in a while. He can come off the edge. I mean, 311 times in the box this year. And then 249 on the D-line. He did that last year. And then his first year, too, he did the same thing. He switches off. He can do both. He isn't the biggest. I think he's, 245, 240. Yeah, 245, 6'2". But he's got the skills. He's got the skill set to be able to become a Micah Parsons type guy and be in Micah Parsons' rookie year, who plays off the ball and plays off the edge. So I think that fills two needs and two gaps for the Falcons, who, Caden Ellis had a really good season for them as a middle linebacker. But Jalen Walker, maybe an outside linebacker who can play off the ball and on the edge, would be great for him. Now number 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. I think the defensive line is what they need. Interior, more specifically. And we're going to go with Derek Harmon. I think we'll be having a scouting profile coming out for him too. I think his ability to just be a presence in the middle of the trenches is what really sticks out to me. I really don't like how low they rate him. I think he could possibly be one of the better, besides Mason Graham, the best defensive interior lineman in this draft. I mean, I have him going as the second defensive interior, right? Yeah, because I've got Mason Graham at 5. No other interior defensive lineman. Derek Harmon could be really good. He was a great pickup for Oregon from Michigan State. And obviously we'll dive deep into him more on a scouting profile, but Derek Harmon, number 16 to the Cardinals, I think really helps fit that defensive line improvement for Arizona. 17 to the Bengals. You lost out on Jesse Bates last year. You get to the Falcons, or maybe it was 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think it might have been two seasons ago, actually. You go and get Malachi Starks, who is, a top 10 player in this draft. He's at 17. I think their secondary was absolutely horrendous this year, in my opinion. Their defense was just horrendous this year. You improve that defense with a top 10 player in the draft class in Malachi Starks. That's a big improvement, man. That's a very good pick. That's one of the best picks of the first round. Very high valued pick at pick 17 for the Bengals, who I think could possibly keep T. Higgins in the offseason. He's talking about maybe taking a pay cut. So we'll go Malachi Starks at 17, other than Luther Burden. You know, if T. Higgins leaves, we go Luther Burden, I think 17. But we'll go Malachi Starks. Now at 18 to the Seahawks, I think they really do just need a guy to be on the offensive line. That's where Kelvin Banks Jr. comes into play. He can move into guard. He can stay at tackle. And Seattle really just needs that. I mean, as I said, I think in one of the previous mocks, or maybe I said it in the comments section, they were rated bottom 20 in both guard positions for penalties and QB pressures. So that is really bad. You got to fix that, man. Like, it needs to be improved, and Kelvin Banks Jr. can help do that. He's been really good at Texas. You get protecting the left side of Quinn Ewers. Cameron Williams, not as much recently. That's why you see him falling in the draft. I don't have him in my first round. Spoiler, I don't have him in my first round in this mock. But, Kelvin Banks Jr. could be a really, really good player. We're going to have him going 18 to the Seahawks because it's what they need as an offensive lineman. 19 now to the Buccaneers. Man, where could I go here? We can go Luther Burden. Chris Godwin may not come back. I think he does. They could go Mike Green. Mike Green's a really good edge rusher from Marshall. I think the fact that he goes to Marshall, people are a little bit, not as high on him. I think that's almost downright disrespectful to Mike Green. But we're gonna go. You know what? We're gonna go with Luther Burden. Just because the uncertainty of Chris Godwin and his injury, and Mike Evans just keeps getting older. Luther Burden's a fantastic player you put in the slot. I mean, Chris Godwin's in the slot right now, but Jalen McMillan's been really good for Tampa Bay in Godwin's absence. So adding another guy in Luther Burden would be pretty beneficial for Tampa. This is just me saying I think that if Godwin goes away, I think Mike Green from Marshall is also a very big option here for the Bucks, but we're going to go Luther Burden. Now at pick number 20, we're going to go scroll down a little bit here. Colston Loveland to the Denver Broncos. I still say that he is the best tight end fit for Denver because I think they would need more of a receiving tight end for Bo Nix in the Denver offense. That is a pass-heavy offense, and Colston Loveland fits that. I mean, he's a great route. He's great at running routes. He's great at catching the football, and I've got him going 20 to the Broncos, because tight end, quite frankly, is what they need. So 21 to the Steelers. Last time I went with Jahdae Barron, but this time Emeka Egbuka is available. We're going to go with Emeka Egbuka. I don't think he was available at 21 or to the Steelers pick, whichever pick they had. I think I had him going 19 to the Buccaneers, actually, in my last mock. So we're going to go 21. They need a wide receiver other than George Pickens. Maybe they end up trading George Pickens because of his off-the-field issues and locker room issues. So Emeka Egbuka does just that, He 1,000-yard receiver for Ohio State, all-time receptions leader. He's a great player. He'll be a good steal for a team. So Steelers luck out by getting him at 21. 22 now to the Chargers. They need that edge help. Let's go Mike Green. As I said, the transfer from Virginia, I believe, played only 2 years at Marshall. I think the fact that he plays at Marshall really turns people away. But the 17 sacks say otherwise. I know you're playing in the Sun Belt, but 17 sacks in a season, regardless of what conference you're in, is absolutely incredible. He's a fantastic player, and the edge rushing presence on Los Angeles is just older and older. It's Joey Bosa, it's Khalil Mack. Get a young guy in there. So I think you go Mike Green, who has a very good potential. I mean, 290-plus graded seasons in a row. He plays pretty good against good competition as well. Ohio State, a really, really good team, of course, with a 71 grade, running outside the tackle, 17 sacks, 10 hits, 32 QB hurries, and 1 ball batted down. I mean, he's fantastic, dude. I've got him going 22 to the LA Chargers. Now at 23 for the Packers, the fans say corner a lot, fans say edge a lot. This is the team where I've really been debating a lot whether or not I should go corner, edge, maybe even tackle. Go Armin Membao, who's actually risen up the boards a lot. I'm gonna go Benjamin Morrison though. I think corner is the right choice for them here. Jair Alexander might not be a Packer after this year. the corner room needs work. The corner room needs work. Benjamin Morrison didn't get to play this season at all, I don't think. I got hurt in the Stanford game, but he's a great corner. And I think Notre Dame definitely missed him in the Ohio State game, especially having a guy like him against Jeremiah Smith would have been able to somewhat limit, not limit completely, but somewhat limit Jeremiah Smith. Not in the way that Jahdae Barron did, I don't think, but or the Texas game plan did, because it was really just Texas game plan and Jahdae Barron. But Benjamin Morrison to 23 to fill that corner need for the Packers. Now 24 to the Vikings. We're going to go defensive interior. We've been going running back recently. We're going to go interior. We're going to go Walter Nolan, who I think is a very good defensive interior guy. Another transfer, I believe. I don't know if that's right. Maybe A&M is where he trained. No, don't quote me on that. But very good for Mississippi this year. They need the defensive interior help. Obviously, Daniel Hunter went to is a Texan now. So he hasn't been with the team for a bit. Van Ginkel's been really good off the edge, but you've seen the lack of a guy in the force in the middle, and that's I think Walter Nolan does for them. So 25 though, I'm gonna go back-to-back picks for a defensive interior. We're gonna go with Kenneth Grant from Michigan. I don't know why I went into the defensive interior when he was top of the board. Kenneth Grant I think is good value here at 25. Obviously, he's a little bit overshadowed by his teammate, Mason Graham, but Kenneth Grant's an absolute stud at defensive line. And I think, as I said, 25 is great value for him. So, Kenneth Grant, 25 to the Texans. Texans could use it. They've got some contracts coming up, expiring in the future. So, in the defensive interior. So, we'll go 25. 26 now to the Rams, though. We're going to go with tackle. We're going to go Armand Membu. I've been looking into him more. He's more of that nasty, aggressive, powerful tackle that can move into guard, honestly. I think he stays at tackle, though, for the Rams. And, just the way that the offensive line looked at times in that Philly game, I know Philly's got a great defensive line, so it's kind of hard to use that as your sample size. But I'm gonna have to say that, getting another tackle is good for them, and I think Armand, who's, as I said, is really just is just kind of a nasty guy to have on that offensive line, just kind of have that physicality, is beneficial to LA, especially with Stafford maybe contemplating retirement, maybe staying another year. Just keeping him healthy is a absolute priority for the Rams. So 27 now to the Ravens. The fans say edge rusher. I'm going to say no. The public, I don't agree with you. We're going to go corner, and we're going to go Jahdae Barron, number 27 to the Ravens. I think Jahdae Barron, as I said last time, is a very good very good corner. He can play different positions on the field at corner. You saw how he can play against Ohio State. He did a really good job whenever he was covering, what's his name? Whenever he was covering Jeremiah Smith. What do you mean, what's his name, dude? One of the best wide receivers in college football. Did a really good job, and I think that could be a really big need for the Ravens. I think that and edge rusher is a really big need. But you gotta improve the secondary. I think Marcus Williams wasn't really very good at safety. Obviously, that's safety, but I think Jahdae Barron's a very good improvement for you in the defensive back room. So. Number 28 now to the Lions. Ooh, dude, this one's been killing me. I've been kind of beating myself up all week for this one. Nick Skirton, Jack Sawyer. I think Nick Skirton being here makes the pick a little bit easier for the Lions. I could also see them going corner again, just like they went Terrion Arnold last year, with some of the injuries that happened at the end of the year with a Reek Robertson. I don't think they will go corner. I think they did a good job last year with Arnold, who he's very handsy. And then Rakestraw from Missouri, who I think didn't really get to play because of injuries, but I think they did a good enough job there. But we're gonna move on now to pick number 29 to the Commanders, one of the 4 teams still fighting for a Super Bowl. We could go 2 different ways. We're actually going to put both of them on our board right here, edge and corner. And let me explain to you guys why I went the way I went. Their rush defense is horrendous. I mean, 30th in the league. But I still just think that your corner room is bad, and you need to fix that. You need to solve it. Marshawn Lattimore looked really good in the divisional round. Didn't look good in the wild card, but looked really good in the divisional round, only allowing 1 target his way, 0 receptions. We're going to go with Savone Ravel, though. Mike Davis, absolutely terrible. Benjamin St. Juste, absolutely terrible. Those 2 guys should not be starting corners. Savone Ravel has the capability to come in and be the CB2 of this team off rip. I mean, you missed with Emmanuel Forbes 2 seasons ago, who's no longer on the team. But I think you go Savone Ravel because you need an improvement at corner. The rushing defense needs work. I think that's something that you focus on later and you focus on in the offseason. I think corner with a guy like Savone Ravel in the first round. Jack Sawyer maybe off the edge, but I'm going to go with Savone Ravel here because I think he's a high value for where at pick 29, despite the injury. Now, at 30 to the Bills, we're going to go interior again. The only guy that I think is left out of the first rounders, Tyleik Williams, great for Ohio State. I mean, I see him all over the place on the field when I was watching Ohio State, this playoffs especially. The Bills could use that interior D-line. I think they don't have very many issues. I'd say if there is issues, it's the defense. And so that's where Tyleik Williams comes into play, able to help solve and develop to become one of the better defensive linemen in the league. I think this draft class is going to be a good one. I really do enjoy this draft class. It kind of sucks that the quarterback room is kind of one of the weaker ones that we've seen because I think that the draft has a lot of deep positions, dude. Like the running back room's absolutely loaded. The wide receiver room, I think, is absolutely loaded. The tight end room is pretty dang good. The defensive line, interior and edge rusher is absolutely loaded. There's so many of them. Let's do a count real quick. We got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you count Jalen Walker, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 guys that have played snaps on the defensive line going in the first round. And I'm not even done with the first round because guess what? You're going at pick 13. I got Jack Sawyer going to the Eagles, buffing up that edge rusher presence, you know? I could see the Eagles also going maybe Connerly or a guy that can move into guard like Savia Inea or maybe even a Ursary who, you know, maybe has dropped a little bit on some boards. But I think Jack Sawyer, get the edge rusher presence, I think is something that benefits them a ton. I mean, he's been great for Ohio State, especially in the playoff. You know, he did what he did against Texas to basically seal the deal. And, you know, despite not beating Michigan in any of his years, and everybody keeps saying that, you're 0-4 against Michigan. Well, he's a national champion, and he's one of the best edge rushers in this draft class, falling at 31 to the Eagles, which is a great spot if I'm a prospect. I want to go to Philly because they are a very good team with not a very big amount of needs. I mean, when wide receiver is your biggest need, you got one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. I'd say you're doing pretty well. So, Jack Sawyer, 31. Now, to wrap it up, though, we're going to go with the Chiefs. Josh Connerly with the Chiefs from Oregon. I think he's got a little bit smaller-ish arms, I'd say, to the point where he could move into to guard. I think the lack of a left tackle on this team is the biggest problem. I mean, their interior offensive line is awesome. They're like all the 3 of them are always Pro Bowlers, and then the tackles are really the big concern for the Chiefs. So I think Josh Connerly Jr. would be a good pickup for him in the first round. So that'll be my first round mock. Here's the little bit of changes, a little bit of the same. Cam Ward still goes first. Connerly jumps into the first. Sawyer jumps into the first. I think Shamar wasn't in the first last time, as I said. We got a couple of guys that jump back into the jump into the first round that weren't in the first round last time, like Armand Membu. Here's what I got. Put down in the comment section what you think your team should do. If you agree with me, don't agree with me, I'd love to hear your feedback. You know, that's what it's all about, learning from my viewers and letting you guys have a voice. You know, let y'all be heard. And then once again, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, if you made it all the way to here, I appreciate it a ton. And if you aren't subscribed still, I'd really appreciate it if you just hit the subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. It's free. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.